And I know this not because I watched the film. I'd rather jump feet first into a wood chipper than sit through that film.
Dude, why are you updating an 18-minute video criticizing how crappy the movie is if you haven't even watched it?
I don't need to watch Barbie to know that it's bad, for the same reason that I don't need to pull a rotten onion out of the garbage and eat it in order to know that I won't like the taste.
So, as you all know, the Barbie movie has come out, and as you all know, Republicans are going crazy over it. And do you know what that means? That means we have no other choice but to watch it. I don't make up the rules, I'm sorry. It is what it is. So we have Ted Cruz, we have Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro. We have every single Republican talking shithead lined up for today. And we're just going to react, watch, have fun. We'll see. We'll see how we feel. The first runner-up is obviously Mr. Ted Cruz, who said that the Barbie movie is trying to kiss up to the Chinese Communist Party. Which at this point, I'm not sure if this is just starting to become like a joke or not. I have no clue.
Ted Cruz joins me now. So, Senator, did you even see the movie, or did you just see this stupid map?
Yeah, no, I have not seen the movie. I've just seen the stupid map. And I got to say, look, I mean, as you just showed, the map is drawn like in crayons. It's roughly a map of the world, but China, Asia is just this big crayon box. But then right to the east of where China is are the 9 dashes. And to anyone who's not really focused on geopolitics, those lines don't...
Barbie's China controversy? What the hell are they talking about? Are they saying Barbie land is basically like China? I love how he also starts it off with, no, I didn't see it, but yeah, it's communist. Like, make it make sense. Okay, so I guess she has a world map behind her. Wait, I'm sorry, this is what makes it communist? This crappy crayon drawn map? Really?
Mean anything, but what those lines indicate is the Communist Party of China puts out official maps with those 9 dashes, and they are asserting sovereignty over the entire South China Sea. They're saying all of that is China's. And by the way, all of their neighbors disagree. Vietnam disagrees. The Philippines disagrees. Actually, the country of Vietnam has banned the movie Barbie from their nation because these 9 dashes are replicated.
So they can't see Margot Robbie. That is a huge mistake. Does Warner Brothers have to push this propaganda so that they allow the movie to be showcased in China, which is what, like 1.8 billion potential customers?
Yeah, look, that's exactly what's going on here. Obviously, the little girls that are going to see Barbie, none of them are going to have any idea what those dashes mean. This is really designed for the eyes of the Chinese censors, and they're trying to kiss up to the Chinese Communist Party because...
Dude, I don't mean to sound like an asswipe saying this, but who gives a about a map that's behind Margot Robbie that has 9 dashes on it? Like, respectfully, I don't understand the big deal. Who cares? Why is this Fox News content? I feel like there's so many other things happening in the world, and you're focusing on a goddamn map behind Margot Robbie in a Barbie movie that has 9 dashes near China? Like, at this point, you're trying to be racist. I'm convinced you're trying to be racist at this point. Like, you're genuinely seeking out racism, okay? You're seeking out to be problematic because this shouldn't even be a news bit. Why is this even news? Why do we have a U.S. senator, one of the highest positions in federal government, talking about a goddamn map behind Margot Robbie in the Barbie movie on Fox News? Like, this is why our country is going to shit. You, my friend, have much bigger things to worry about as a U.S. senator.
They want to make money selling the movie in China. And sadly, Jesse, this is a pattern we've seen of lots of Hollywood movie studios allowing China to censor American movies. And I got to tell you, I introduced legislation, it's called the Script Act, that says the federal government will not allow movie makers to use U.S. government assets, things like jets or tanks or ships or helicopters.
Good.
If they allow the Chinese government to censor their films. And my legislation in substantial parts passed in December of last year. Just a few weeks ago, the Pentagon put out the official guidance saying, if you let China censor your movies, you're not getting U.S. assets. Sadly, the Barbie movie They didn't have any F-35s with Barbie flying them, so it didn't have leverage over them.
So you haven't seen Barbie. Did you see?
You know what the biggest issue of this whole interview piece is that they're literally interviewing somebody about the Barbie movie who has repeatedly said they haven't even seen the Barbie movie. Why are you talking to somebody that hasn't even seen the Barbie movie? Like, at the very least, Ted should have been like, yeah, I saw it, and this is what I thought. Like, at the very least, you're interviewing somebody that hasn't even seen the goddamn movie.
The whistleblower testimony today, and it seemed like Merrick Garland's guilty of perjury and obstruction of justice.
Jesse, you're exactly right. The whistleblower testimony today was damn.
Okay, yeah, I don't care about that. I just want Barbie reacts.
Hi guys, it's Amala coming at you from a tree stump in the city of London, and I've decided to film this video because I just wanted to watch the Barbie movie, and it is probably the wokest film of 2023. Let's talk about it.
Attempt at being woke. This is Prager's attempt at trying to solicit the younger view. Little do they know that literally nobody below the age of 65 watches Prager, so...
Now, yes, I had to come to you from this park just to talk about the Barbie movie, which I just took time to see. I sat through it in its entirety, and I think it is the wokest film of 2023. Now, before we get into plot summary on this film, I want you guys to remember the original message of Barbie, that young girls and women can do anything that they want.
Hey, girls can do anything, right, Barbie? Right, Barbie?
Barbie has thousands of different careers. She shows up in the world in 100 different ways, and she's encouraging young girls to keep that mindset, and always has encouraged that mindset within young women. By all reasonable markers, we would call the original Barbie a feminist, at least a first or second wave feminist. But there's been much debate about this film in particular. Amy Schumer said that the original take of this film was not going to be feminist enough.
I just don't think it's that deep. Is it really that deep? Why are you comparing a doll movie to the first and second wave of feminism? Like, it's a movie about dolls. It's not that deep.
Much back and forth on this film.
I actually, when I got asked the other day, like, is Barbie a feminist? I was like, well, she's actually like the level up from that. Because if you look at Barbie Land at the beginning, like, the Barbies are on top and the Kens are kind of disregarded. So I was like, well, that's not equal.
No, right.
So
right.
whatever the opposite of misogynist is, actually, Barbie's like, so towards the end, when they balance things out, then it might be feminist.
Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach have written this version of Barbie that's now in theaters.
I think in a lot of other hands, a Barbie movie would remain surface level. But I knew Greta was going to have a lot to say, and I knew she was going to kind of Trojan horse a lot of big issues within a very fun world.
Now let's talk about the plot. Spoiler alert. We start off in Barbie Land, where all of the Barbies are living and all of the Kens are, shall we say, existing, and Barbie, played by Margot Robbie, lives every day perfectly. She wakes up and her hair's done, she gets dressed, her feet are perfectly stuck in that high heel position, every day is wonderful, all the Barbies love each other and are so nice to each other.
Yeah, can we have a little moment for Ryan Gosling? This is just us giving a quick moment to Ryan Gosling and how beautiful he just looked in that movie. I don't make up the rules. I'm just here to give a quick shout out. All right, going back to this chud.
Each other. All the Kens are out doing their Ken things, and they live in beautiful Barbie Land. But one day, Barbie falls into somewhat of a crisis. She starts to think about death and despair, which is not to be had in Barbie Land. And she recognizes that there's a problem. Right? So upon some investigation, Barbie finds out that whoever owns her in the real world is having these thoughts, and they're in some way, through some portal between the Barbie Land and the real world, coming to affect her. And that's why she's thinking about death and despair and all of these horrific thoughts. And suddenly her feet move from that high heel position to flat-footed. So we know that there is a problem. What she's told is that she needs to go out into the real world, find her owner, discover what the issue is, to somehow repair this portal between Barbie Land and the
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the woke part, and she's really dragging it on.
real world. So that's where she sets off. And she goes not alone. Ken goes with her into the real world. Now, upon entering the real world, many things are discovered. One, that men are all sexual predators, I guess, which you'll see in watching this film. But Ken and Barbie split and go in different directions. Barbie sets out to find her owner, who's played by America Ferrera, who also has an insufferable, feminist, anti-capitalist daughter, and we'll get to that. And Ken...
Hell yeah! We love the communist representation!
Goes around and discovers what the real world is like. He realizes that the real world is a patriarchy, that it is run by men, and he's so excited about this idea. Because back in Barbie Land, he feels almost forgotten. People aren't looking at him, people aren't paying attention to him, so he has a brilliant thought. He's going to bring the patriarchy to Barbie Land. So Ken splits from Barbie, he goes out on his way, he heads back to Barbie Land. Meanwhile, Barbie gets in her own crisis. She goes to the Mattel executive headquarters and gets in some trouble there, but eventually America Ferrera, who plays her owner, and her insufferable daughter end up saving Barbie, and they decide we're gonna go back to Barbie Land ourselves. So the three of them head back to Barbie Land, and when they arrive, they realize that Ken has turned Barbie Land into a patriarchy. Now the Kens are running Barbie Land, it's called the Kendom, and all the other Barbies that were living there before,
Oh my god, it turned into a Barbie frat house!
are now brainwashed by the idea of patriarchy. They're handing the men beers, they're acting subservient for Barbie Land back to its matriarchal glory. Now, at the very end of this film, Barbie decides, I don't know who I am anymore. Some positives. I think Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling did a great job in their respective roles of Barbie.
God, this girl really just rambles on. I did not ask for a synopsis of the movie. I want to understand why you think it's woke. Get to the point.
And Ken, they were very animated and fun. It was entertaining. It had very vivid emotions. Ryan Gosling, throughout multiple points in the movie, sings and dances. The cinematography.
Wow, she's really just not going to get to the point.
Now, let's talk about what I perceive to be negative about this film, and I
Ugh, finally, took you 6.5 minutes.
do have quite a long list. First of all, you might think that a Barbie movie is something that you should take children to.
Is this a kid's movie or is it not a kid's movie?
It's this is such like a thing people say when they do press for a movie. They're like, it's for everyone. But it was literally crafted to be for everyone. Like this, Greta said from the beginning, like, this is a big party and everyone is invited.
I would not recommend that. It is certainly not a film that I would show to my future children, whether they are boys or girls. The overall messaging of this film is not a healthy message for young people or really anybody. Plus, mixed in throughout the horrible messaging about patriarchy is a lot of sexual innuendo, a little bit of bad language as well. Now let's talk about the spooky patriarchy.
Oh god, that was one of the worst edits I've seen.
Lot of sexual innuendo, a little bit of bad language as well. Now let's talk about the spooky patriarchy.
Oh no, not the patriarchy.
It is a massive through line throughout this entire film. In fact, the word patriarchy is unironically mentioned in this movie more times than I could count. The entire plot of this film is contingent upon the belief that the real world is in fact a patriarchy, that men are constantly running and controlling things, even though they're not that bright and they don't really have good character. Guys, I kid you not, there are multiple speeches, I mean direct speeches in this film about how horrible it is to be a woman, all the different strifes that we go through, what it is to live under a patriarchy.
She's a pick-me. Chat, please go pick her because she's a pick-me. Okay, listen to me. You don't have to agree with the term patriarchy, but if you don't agree that the world is predominantly ran by men, you're factually wrong. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, it is a literal fact that men run a lot of shit, aka turning it into a patriarchal world. So if we get one movie where it's designed to cater to women in a woman-catered world, I don't think it's that big of an issue. But I understand why a fellow pick-me would not like that. You know what I mean?
How horrible and unintelligent and useless men are in the real world.
Your entire life is garbage.
It is unbelievable. And of course, they spin us the message that the world should in fact be a matriarchy, like Barbie Land, where women run everything.
I think so. What's the issue?
Because you couldn't possibly have a centrist mindset that men and women complement each other, have different strengths and weaknesses, and in fact should coexist in a world where they both rule.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good luck trying to make that happen, Miss Girl. We've never even had an American president, bro. That's a woman. We have countries that don't even allow they don't even allow women to leave the house without wearing a fucking headscarf because the men in charge don't like their hair to be shown. We live in a world where men literally control every single aspect of how women live their lives. And if you want to go and personally tell the women of Iran how patriarchy doesn't exist and how men and women should work together, please be my guest, because I would love to watch you get your, I'm not going to say it, but I would love to watch you try. I would love to watch you try, because you want to know what the men are going to do? The men are going to pull you aside, put a headscarf on your head and be like, shut the fuck up. So like, I know she's sitting in this little cute park in London or Britain or wherever the hell she said she is, and she's preaching, oh, men and women, we should all work together and, you know, we should all rule together. That has literally never been humankind. Now, I will say back historically, when you actually go back, men and women did work more cohesively, right? Like, we did have phenomenal female leaders like Cleopatra. It was more predominant to have more cohesive units, right? That, like, obviously patriarchy still existed to a certain extent, but there are examples of like great female leaders that we still speak about to this day. But I personally think those times have changed, like, and I don't think they're ever going to come back. I mean, I would implore y'all to tell me 10 female leaders off of the top of your head. You can't. You wouldn't be able to tell me. It's incredibly hard for women to lead in this world. If I could take my hypothetical daughter to a movie that shows this world where she can be powerful and she can rule and she can have autonomy off of her choices and not get sexually harassed and just be able to live her life comfortably, of course I'm going to take her. Why not? I think Mulan is a good movie, but I think one of the issues in Mulan as well is that Mulan has to do everything to conform to patriarchy, right? Like, Mulan is literally forced to prove herself based off of doing things that men do in order to show that she's worthy, which I still think it does show power, but it's also still conforming to patriarchal systems. You know what I mean? Not to go hella woke on y'all, but I have my own thoughts about Mulan, you know?
I found myself many times during this film looking at the women and thinking, do they think women are dumb? Because that's truly how they presented them. The women in this film were ditzy, pathetic, lacked agency, or at least were trying to spin the idea that we lack agency.
Yeah, they lack agency and they're ditzy because they're fucking dolls. It's a movie about dolls. It's not a movie about goddamn Cleopatra. It's a movie about dolls, about dolls that children play with. Yes, they're not supposed to be scholars. That's literally not the point. It's a movie about Barbies. I literally do not understand the psychoanalyzation. Like, it's a movie about toy dolls.
In fact, at one point in this film, America Ferrera says, quote, "It is impossible to be a woman," end quote. Think about that.
What was everyone's reaction to you saying that on set? And what was it like for you saying it?
Like, I think it really landed with the crew, too. Like, I had a lot of crew members, men and women, approach me, and they were like, really felt it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
There's also a quote at the end of the film where one of the Barbies says that in the future, Kens will have as much power in Barbie land as women have in the real world. And this is supposed to be a ha-ha moment because women truly have no power in the real world.
It reinforces the idea that the way things are done is the way things should be done. Even though Mulan is an exception, she actually reinforces the legitimacy of the system she's trying to participate in. Exactly. Mulan was not a girl that went off on her own and did her own thing. She did go off on her own and she did do her own thing, but it was more defiance to prove to men that she was just as worthy as men by doing male-dominated activities, right? She didn't have a choice. If she had a choice, I'm sure she would have done it differently, but she literally had to join the military with the men, disguise herself as a man the whole entire time for most of the movie, and then at the end, she still like fell in love with one of the men. And it's just it's honestly, it's not only military propaganda, but it was also like, oh, Mulan ain't shit if she can't join the male military and prove that she's as strong as men. And for some reason, we ate that shit up when we were kids.
And we're always stuck under the thumb of our oppressive patriarchal men.
That's a joke. No, I get it, yeah.
And of course, I must point out the irony of this being a feminist film while casting trans actresses to play women.
Oh, come on. Okay, that's just transphobic.
Move on from the women to the men in this film, who are largely playing Kens or the executives in the real world. There is not a single quality man in this entire movie. They are ditzy, they are feminine beyond belief, and they lack good character and strong morals all across the board.
Dude, they're Barbie. I love how she expected a movie about Barbie dolls to be like, goddamn, the Avengers. This girl really thought she was gonna sit in the movie theater and Ken was gonna be acting like a Avenger, like goddamn Hulk, and the woman was gonna be the female version of Mulan. Like, I literally don't get it. Like, it's a movie about Barbies. You are expecting way too damn much from Barbies. Like, when I look at a Barbie, I think of a fragile doll that children play with. And I think the movie did a great job at expressing that. I don't see the issue.
It's you to think about real men. You get the men in the real world who are sexually harassing Barbie. One of them even assaults her as she steps into the real world of Los Angeles, California. You get the executives who are constantly belittling women while also being really unintelligent themselves. If this movie wants to leave you with any message, it is the message that men suck.
He deserves it.
I mean, men do suck. I don't see the issue here. Wasn't the Pocahontas girl real? Yes. Pocahontas was actually the first registered incident of MMIW, missing murdered Indigenous women. So Pocahontas is the first recorded MMIW, officially recorded MMIW case in America, which most people don't know about. And she was also like 15 when she was groomed. They also shipped her out to Britain, and the poor girl died a miserable death in Britain at a very young age. And to this day, they still won't return her remains back to the indigenous communities and tribes which have been asking back for her remains. Like, it's literally propped up in some sort of like a museum or something like that. Like, it's not with they never had a religious, like a tribal indigenous burial for her. So her story is actually, Pocahontas' story is incredibly f***ed up.
Because she's Barbie and he's just Ken, and he's totally fine with that. Forever.
We should hate them and that we should live in a matriarchy. And they must mention the dynamic between men and women in this film. We all know that Barbie and Ken come together as a couple. For many of us, they were meant to be in love, this perfect pair of woman and man. In this movie, none of the Barbies are really in love with the Kens. In fact, the only point in this movie where Barbies actually show romantic affection towards their Kens is when they are brainwashed by the patriarchy. And just so
I love that so much. I love that. Hell yeah. That's some empowerment shit right there.
That I thought was a funny note. This movie clearly hates capitalism, but also has within it very poorly done product placement for the 2024 Chevy Blazer.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
I mean, it sticks.
I mean, yeah, they do have to still do product placement because they have to make money. You can be anti-capitalist and still do capitalist things to make your money and make your dreams come true. You don't have to be pro-capitalism to make money off of a goddamn movie.
Out like a sore thumb. I wonder how much money they made off of that within our capitalist system. But guys, I think you get the gist. I could go on and on about this film and all the different contradictions and all the different poor messaging, but I'll leave you with this. The film wants to let you know that it hates patriarchy, it hates men, it hates beauty standards, it hates capitalism, it hates Eurocentrism, and most of all, it hates Barbie and Mattel, the company responsible for the creation of Barbie.
I literally feel like I would love this movie.
Even though that's exactly what the film is meant to be about. As I said before, the audience in this theater really enjoyed the film. I was not with them on that one, and maybe it's because I'm sensitive to wokeness and super cynical, but to me—
oh no, guys, she's sensitive to wokeness.
Me, this movie just wasn't it. There could have been a much better storyline, a more appropriate storyline for especially the young women.
Oh my god, literally, please cry me a river. You just sound like a whiny anti-woke propagandist at this
All right,
point.
guys, it's Friday. We made it to the end of the week. And the question of the day, and I think it's kind of reflecting on the entire week, is the American IQ at an all-time low? I think the obvious...
over a goddamn movie about Barbie dolls, man. Like, it's not that serious.
Yes, the answer is yes, given the details that have come out about the Carly Russell case that we have been obsessed with all week, looking back at the Jussie Smollett case. And now today I'm going to tell you a case pertaining to an 18-year-old mother who has just been arrested for using a website to hire a hitman to kill off her 3-year-old son. Now, of course, that is...
Bro, she literally made the the thumbnail of her in Barbie, and now she's talking about a murderer. Why are you clickbaiting me?
But I'm going to just explain why I don't want to see it. We are living in a world that is increasingly anti-man, while we are...
I don't see the problem with that.
Pretending that women are suffering under the foot of the patriarchy. What's actually happening is that toxic feminism has risen to the top.
Oh my God, toxic feminism. I have not heard that term until now.
It's actually oppressing men with movements that make entirely no sense. It's why I was so outspoken against the Me Too movement, where men were being condemned for absolutely no reason. We covered recently.
No, Gorbs, that is a great point. All these people crying about it and they haven't even seen it. It's amazing to me how Americans will have opinions on things that they know nothing about. Not a goddamn thing. And I genuinely think it's like the American way to go about things, because I will have a conversation with a person and they'll tell me something within that conversation. I'll be like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have clearly not done your research, but for some reason you have so many convictions about this topic. For example, I met a guy from Miami who voted for Ron DeSantis, and he was so hardcore pro DeSantis, right? We're talking about a dark-skinned black man. A black man that was like, Ron DeSantis is my man, I ride or die. And I was like, well, why do you like DeSantis so much? And he was like, his COVID response was amazing. And I was like, are we talking about the same man? And then he was like, he's fighting against public schools. And I was like, why do you think that's a good thing? And he was like, well, that way we can have charter schools and I could teach my children about Jesus. And I was like, oh God. I was like, oh God, okay. Like, we're dealing with a full-blown, you're really out there, aren't you, my guy?
Recently on the show, examples of toxic feminism. The young lady, Jonah Hill's ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old, who saw that he was happy and in a relationship and decided to leak personal text messages where he very politely...
I'm sorry, what the hell does Jonah Hill have to do with the Barbie movie? What is the correlation?
What he was looking for in a relationship, and that she wasn't it, because she likes to post naked photos online and he wants somebody that is in spirit more conservative.
She never posted naked pictures online. She was a surfing instructor and she had pictures of herself surfing in the ocean, just to be clear.
And he found that person. That is an example of toxic femininity, trying to ruin somebody's career because you weren't what they wanted, and trying to make it seem as though, as she tried to characterize his messages, he's an emotional abuser. No, he just doesn't want to date you. Similarly, obviously, with BB Rexa, the artist, releasing text messages where she was in...
Why is she going out about random actors' like personal lives? I don't care. Like, are you gonna give me your review about Barbie, or are you just gonna keep talking about other people's personal kerfuffles in their relationships?
A conversation with her ex-boyfriend, and she asked him whether or not she had gained weight in the face, and he said, yes, you have, in the nicest possible terms. And she didn't care. She didn't care. She shared the message because this is what women have been conditioned to be recently, vicious toward men, to pretend that every man is somehow an abuser.
I'm still trying to understand how this correlates to Barbie.
So when I saw this review by somebody that I actually do like to read in the Daily Mail, Sarah Vine, I knew that I could take her words at face value, because I just felt that this movie, there's always an angle now. We, I think, are all alive to the fact that Hollywood is very much propaganda. It's very rare when we just see a story where the story is being told and we're not trying to have our minds changed about a cultural issue or having us swayed or inspired by a cultural issue. And it, according to Sarah Vine, that is exactly what the Barbie movie is, that it is propaganda. So I'm going to read you some of her words in this article that I found to be particularly impactful. Sarah Vine writes, my main criticism actually has nothing to do with the subject matter. Barbie or no Barbie, it's not intrinsically that good of a film. It's uneven, disjointed, and the plot makes no real sense. And the dead hand of corporate America weighs heavily upon it. But my main objection is that Barbie is not really a film about Barbie at all.
No, Candace has not watched the movie. None of these Republicans who are speaking about it have actually watched the movie so far.
It's 1 hour and 54 minutes of extended misandry, dressed up with a few fun dance routines and 1 or 2, granted fairly decent, jokes. It is a deeply anti-man movie, an extension of all that TikTok feminism that paints any form of masculinity, other than the most anodyne, as toxic and predatory, and frames women's liberation not as a movement based on achieving equality between the sexes, but as a cultural revenge vehicle designed to right men.
Oh, that is true. The Prager chick watched it. Ted Cruz didn't watch it. Candace Owens didn't watch it. I do think Ben Shapiro watched it. I'm not sure about Matt Walsh.
Out of the story altogether. Every male character is either an idiot, a bigot, or a sad, rather pathetic loser.
I don't see the issue with that. I don't know why it's an issue that the male Barbies were portrayed that way. I mean, they're dolls. I don't really see the problem with it. I don't think men being portrayed as dumb idiots in one movie is going to really change the trajectory of how men live in America. I don't understand why there's like such a huge fuss over it.
If the roles were reversed and a male director made a film about how all women were hysterical, neurotic, gold-digging witches, it would be denounced, quite rightly, as deeply offensive and sexist. In a nutshell, Barbie and Ken set off on an adventure to the real world to discover the source of Barbie's sudden and uncharacteristic anxiety. Barbie gets a nasty shock. She's not as universally popular as she imagined. Ken, on the other hand, has a tremendous time plugging into the macho culture of LA.
Okay, listen, you, Candace Owens, have 1.82 million subscribers. You have 1.82 million subscribers. You have your own show, you have your own studio, you have millions of dollars, and you're reading off of an article on the Daily Mail. You have such a big platform, and yet instead of trying to create a script or your own opinions, or actually watch the movie and come up with your own thoughts, you print out the article of somebody and you just read it as if it's not going to be a snooze fest. Like, not even a little bit of personality. You're not even pausing to review what she's saying or what the article, this is the laziest goddamn production I have ever seen. If you're gonna have so many convicted, strong-held opinions, at the least, make some bullet points and come up with your own thought processes. Why are you reading off the article of somebody from the Daily Mail? You sound like a goddamn audiobook. If I wanted to read the article, I would have just clicked on it. This is the most boring review we have watched so far because she didn't even come up with her own writing or her own bullet points or anything. She's literally just reading off an article that is trash talking the movie Barbie, which is fine. If you don't like the movie Barbie, that's your prerogative, but like at least have your own goddamn opinions. Like, no, I'm not gonna give you the views because this is a snooze fest. I don't even know why conservatives watch her.
Greta Gerwig's female-fueled Barbie opened to a historic $155 million domestically, a threshold usually reserved for male-driven superhero fare or marquee IP, such as the final Harry Potter movie. It came in well ahead of an expected $90 million to $110 million and helped fuel one of the biggest weekends in history. Barbie, which brings to life Mattel's iconic fashion doll, is also strutting to big numbers overseas. The pick launched to an impressive $182 million from 70 markets.
This is the boringest opener to any goddamn YouTube video. Like, dude, you're supposed to hook me. What is this? I'm bored out of my goddamn mind.
Christopher Nolan's film Oppenheimer also opened this weekend to an enormous haul, raking in $80 million because his movie is an original 3-hour R-rated historical drama. The quality of the film doesn't make a difference. The directing, the acting, the writing, none of that factors into the equation. Okay, it could have just been a movie where you're literally staring at if anything, a vindication of Pavlov and his dogs.
Oh God, this is so boring. I can't.
Barbie's box office performance is a result of conditioning and not much else.
What?
Now, if anyone deserves the credit, though, for the biggest box office debut for any female director in history, it is not the female director, but the marketing department, because they're the ones who knew enough to lie about the true content and message of the film. Because as we've now discovered, though it shouldn't really have come as a surprise to anyone, the Barbie movie is a preachy feminist screed about taking down the patriarchy. It is a
Okay, so this guy is basically saying that the marketing is the only reason why this movie is successful. I mean, you can give some credit to the marketing, but there have been movies that have been marketed spectacularly and they didn't get any kind of viewage or box office ratings the way that Barbie has gotten. So I think that example kind of falls flat on its own face.
Gender studies lecture in Barbie packaging. And I know this not because I watched the film. I'd rather jump feet first into a wood chipper than sit through that film.
Dude, why are you updating an 18-minute video criticizing how crappy the movie is if you haven't even watched it?
I don't need to watch Barbie to know that it's bad, for the same reason that I don't need to pull a rotten onion out of the garbage and eat it in order to know that I won't like the taste. I've never thrown myself into a volcano, but I feel that I can safely say that the experience would be unpleasant.
Okay. Here's how it works, right? You have a YouTube channel. You upload videos. You usually watch the content and then you talk about the content, right? You don't just make a video based off of something you haven't even watched and then come on your YouTube channel and say, well, the same way that I know jumping into a volcano would be committing suicide, that's how I know I wouldn't like Barbie. That is the most ridiculous chud, brain rotted analogy and excuse I have ever heard, respectfully. From Candace Owens reading off of a Daily Mail article and not even pausing to give commentary, to this dude that's like, well, I know I wouldn't like to jump into a volcano, so that's how you know I wouldn't like the Barbie movie. Ridiculous.
And probably a little hot. So some books can be judged by their covers, absolutely. Or at least by their back covers where you find the description. And we now have descriptions of the Barbie movie which make the themes clear. Something that the marketing never did, and intentionally so. Fox reports, quote, Hollywood movie critics are widely praising Barbie as the most unwavering feminist summer blockbuster.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with these chuds just quoting other people. Do you not have your own opinion, my guy?
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is the best blockbuster of 2023 and which one is maybe the worst.
God, he looks so awkward. He looks like he's forced to do it. It looks like somebody's holding a gun in the back. Like the producer is holding a gun and is like, say this, say that. Hold the Barbie like that or else I'm going to shoot.
I bet he loved our movie, right, Ken?
For those of you who can't wait that long, I'm going to give my review of the
What the fuck was that?
Barbie movie in the most Oppenheimer fashion.
What the Run.
So the things I do for my audience, my producers dragged me to go see Barbie the movie, and I have thoughts. This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog shit piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill filled with dog shit. It is one of the
Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is entertaining, okay? The other motherfuckers, they were snooze-a-bats. This guy knows what he's talking about. He actually watched it, and he's angry. I'm here for this.
worst movies I've ever seen. On every possible level, it is a horrific movie. The only thing that can be said for this film is production design. Production design is really nice. The costumes are really nice. Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big, okay? It's really not tough. But put aside all of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes. There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
Did he think this was going to be a comedy show? Is he complaining that a movie about Barbie dolls wasn't comedic enough for his taste? It's a movie about Barbies. It's not a movie about Kevin Hart. It's a movie about fucking Barbies. Like, you're really mad. You're angry because it wasn't funny. That's the road you're going to go down.
The movie's a show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a show. I want to ask this. Who is the intended audience for the film?
I think the intended audience was somebody like Ben Shapiro. who needs to just let loose. I honestly think Ben Shapiro just needs to, like, go and experience life. You know, I don't think he touches enough grass. I'm going to be honest with you.
Now, here's one place where you have a serious continuity error in the film. So, Margot Robbie, who plays Barbie at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm sorry, chat. I can't keep doing this. We got through half of it. I think that's good enough. I can't. I'm sorry. I have one working brain cell left. I'm going to use it for other things. Not listening to Ben Shapiro.